Good afternoon. This instructional video is developed with the goal of building your familiarity of version control software, a hallmark of software design and computer programming, in this case through use of the technology Git and the repository service of bitbucket.org. Learning the basics of Git is important for an undergraduate computer science student or a new programmer. Higher-level computer science courses will test your knowledge of the technology and expect you to manage backups of your work in the event of computer failures. Git is also an industry standard that is required for most software design positions. At the end of this video, you will be comfortable with managing an online codebase, knowledgeable of the Git workflow, and exposed to additional tools and software to assist in your large programming projects. As a precautionary warning, you should be careful when downloading software from the internet. While this video recommends websites and download locations, running files from the internet can be dangerous for your system. Be smart and be aware. If a file seems like it is dangerous, or if it triggers your anti-malware scanner, you should look for another source. The first step to using Git is to have code to add to your online repository. If you do not already have your own source code, please check in the video description below for a C++ source code file to implement selection sort, which was found on c++.com. The next step in using Git is to actually create an online repository so that we have somewhere to safely store our source code. Begin by creating a new account on bitbucket.org. Activate via email, and then if not prompted automatically, create a new repository by clicking on Repositories, Create. Name your repository something professional, but leave it as private so you have freedom to learn and experiment with Git. Click back over to Bitbucket and enter your new project. If you click on Source, you'll see that there is no code yet in your repository. The third step in learning how to use Git is to actually install Git functionality to your machine. In the video description below, there is a link to the official Git downloads page. Click onto the operating system that best matches your machine, and the download should begin automatically. If it does not, click, select, and download the installer that matches the 32 or 64-bit architecture of your machine. Run the installer. While the installer is running, it is best to use recommended settings, as they provide the best results in minimal system changes. You should know that Git bash is a helpful utility, which adds some Linux and Git commands to your system's path variable, which allows you to perform Git operations on non-Linux operating systems, such as Windows. With your repository created and Git installed successfully, you should briefly understand the fundamentals of Git. Git works as a version control software, which tracks updates made to files. Software engineers are able to, in parallel, work without worrying about permanently ruining another's code. Git works by creating a working directory on your local machine, by cloning the online repository into a local directory. You may stage changes to be committed at any time by using the git add command. You may gather a bunch of files to be changed by using the git commit command, and you may finalize and push your commits to the master branch on Git with the git push command. A good analogy to help understand this topic is purchasing, wrapping, and mailing Christmas presents. While you shop in the store on your local machine, you make changes to files. If you want to make a purchase, you add that file to your Git shopping cart. Before sending your gifts, you wrap them collectively with a commit. You may even include an optional message. Finally, you must send your gifts to your repository on bitbucket.org with the git push command. You will go through examples of using each command and checking the outcome on bitbucket.org to drive home the idea of where your files are at a given time. To begin working in our repository on our local machine, we must first clone our directory from Git. Click on Clone and copy this command. Paste it into Git bash, if I have done. Be mindful that you do not use my information, but instead your own. After running this command, you may be asked by Git bash to log in with your Bitbucket credentials. This will identify you as an authenticated user. After doing so, we're able to use Linux commands to change directories into our Git directory. But if we check the contents, we will see that just like in Bitbucket, our directory is still empty. Before we are able to make any significant changes to our repository, we will need to configure our git bash to reflect our user information. We will use two commands: git config global user.name. Use quotes and enter your name. Also, use the command git config global user.email. Use the same email you use when registering for bitbucket.org. From here on out, while using Git, you may have to configure certain variables such as your upstream information. If this is necessary, Git will alert you, as well as give you the command that you should use to fix this problem. After all of this work and preparation, you are finally able to make changes to your Git directory. Using your System's File Explorer, navigate to the same folder that you cloned your project into. Click and drag your source file into this directory. Click back over to Git Bash, and using Linux commands, verify that this file does exist in your working directory. Using Git status, we can see that this file just added is untracked. Using git add and then the file name, you are able to add this file to the working Git directory. This file, while it may be in our shopping cart, is uncommitted. Using the command git commit -m to indicate a message tag, you are able to leave a message for future programmers to realize what your update had completed. Finally, using the git status command will show you that you are on branch master and that your branch is ahead of the cloned branch by 1 commit. By using git push, you may publish your local commits. With your commit pushed, it is a good time to check Bitbucket to see that your work is reflected. Click onto commits, and you will see your most recent commit with its message shown at the top. Clicking on the hash brings you to the page for that specific commit, which shows all code inserted in green. It is also worth knowing what it looks like in Bitbucket when you change a file that has already existed in your Git directory. Using your System's File Explorer, open your Git directory and edit your source code with the text editor of your choice. For the purposes of this video, we are still using Notepad++. Feel free to add any comments. Save any changes. Back at Git Bash, check Git status. You will see that because we made changes to this code, you will need to add it to your Git shopping cart. You will need to commit your change or wrap it. And finally, you will need to mail your updates. Clicking back into Bitbucket, you will see, if you check the commit history, your most recent commit with its message is displayed at the top. Click on the hash, and you will see your entered code in green. Clicking side-by-side differences opens this helpful tool, which will show specifically where changes happened between the original file and your newly committed file. Finally, you will learn the awesome working power of version control software through deleting your entire local copy of this work and then recloning it from the Git repository. Using your System's File Explorer, delete the entire Git folder. As you can see in Git Bash, the entire folder no longer exists. I can no longer access the code that I have been working on. In a similar process to the beginning of this video, if you click through Bitbucket on clone, you may copy and paste this command. Upon running this command, we will reclone the most recent updates to the branch on Bitbucket. Using Linux commands, we will check that we still have our code. If you look, you should see the comment that you made earlier in this video reflected in your most recent clone of this repository. Unfortunately, this video only scratches the surface of what it means to use Git and the potential power of using Git as a software engineer. If you are interested in learning more about this powerful tool, you should click in the video description below into the documentation on Git's official website, where you have plenty of resources where you can learn for free how to become a better Git user and a better programmer. Finally, if you have any questions, feel free to email me in the email listed below in the YouTube video description, greg@unlv.nevada.edu. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Now get out there and build some software.